these are moves that if you play the market with them in Dynasty, you're going to end up getting the better side of the deal here. We're trying to find market discrepancies in terms of players that may be valued a little bit too high, players that may be valued a little bit too low, and kind of combining those into moves that if you make them could end up being production lateral moves where you actually get value wins, which again, there's a Dynasty cheat code if you can unlock enough of those. And so let's talk about some of these moves. And I'm going to give you a couple down tiers to start with here. I'm going to start with the one that I love right now, and that's trading Jahmyr Gibbs for Devon Achane Plus. And this is very achievable. I'm looking at some recent trades using the Trade Finders trades that have been completed, mostly sleeper leagues, Dynasty leagues, real Dynasty leagues. And in the last couple days here, the last 2 days, you've seen Jahmyr Gibbs for Devon Achane and 27 first, Jahmyr Gibbs for Devon Achane and Garrett Wilson. You've seen some swaps. You've seen Jahmyr Gibbs for some, I think the 27 first and Garrett Wilson are too much. I don't think you're getting that much. But I do think something like Jahmyr Gibbs for Devon Achane plus a couple seconds or a couple contending pieces is something you can absolutely pull off right now. And here's the reason why I think this is a good move. I don't think Gibbs is going to lose any value. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is elite. He's amazing. He's great. And I think he's valued where he should be. But I'm not sure Achane is valued where he should be, because we're typically seeing when you're seeing these guys drafted in startups, when you're seeing them ranked on different, on our site, all the experts, on, market value sites, things like that. When you're seeing, again, when we're doing startup mock drafts, you're seeing these guys go about a round and a half apart, if not more. Devon Achane's typically in the third, and you've got Jahmyr Gibbs a lot of times going in the first round. And while I think Jahmyr Gibbs is more than I think the value difference probably comes down to the fact that Gibbs is in so much of a better situation than Devon Achane, and I get that. However, the reason that we knock people because of their situation in Dynasty is because typically the guys in a worse situation are either more volatile in their production, or they just simply don't produce at a high enough level because they're on a bad offense. And the thing about that is Devon Achane has pretty much put that to rest in this scenario. I mean, he's the running back 3 this year. He's been consistent as frick. In fact, when you're looking at, how Devon Achane stacks up against other running backs in the league, there's only one other running back in this league that has the receiving upside that Devon Achane does on a week-to-week basis is Christian McCaffrey. The one thing about Christian McCaffrey is he could be like a wide receiver 1 or 2 in fantasy football right now. Devon Achane's pretty much there as well. When we're looking at his advanced receiving metrics here, he's second in target share, 22% target share for Devon Achane in his offense. He's 4th in routes run. He's 4th in route participation. He's efficient in that as well. He's 3rd in receiving yards, 2nd in receptions this year. And so, I mean, this is a guy with elite floor and elite upside, a 40-point upside as you saw in week 10, whereas Jahmyr Gibbs, he's been a little bit more hit or miss this season, but he still does showcase that he has that elite upside as well. But I'm just not seeing a ton of differences from a production standpoint between Devon Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs, which means this. And the other thing is, they're less than a year apart in age as well. So you don't really have an age difference. The only situation you're looking at here, the only difference you're looking at here where you're like, yeah, you can find a tangible difference is situation. And again, because Devon Achane, in about as bad a situation as he could have been in this year, has still been productive, I think we can kind of put that to rest. So if Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be valued at the 1-2 turn, I think Devon Achane should be valued in the second as well. And so I think this is more of a Devon Achane take than anything. And so you can down tier from Jahmyr Gibbs and get a little bit on top of Devon Achane. Now, I don't think you're probably getting a 27 first or Garrett Wilson on top of him, but I do think you can get a little bit on top. And I think that's kind of where you take advantage. If you've got league mates that use bad trade calculators like Keep Trade Cut, I mean, I'm sure you can go in there and get an absolute freaking haul. I mean, this is how you use a tool like this against people, because trade calculators are imperfect. But Gibbs to Achane and the trade calculator, to even that out, you have the 27 first, Josh Jacobs, Brian Thomas, Brock Purdy, T. Higgins. I mean, you're taking any of those guys on top of Devon Achane. If you got Jahmyr Gibbs, I would definitely be looking to down tier from Gibbs to Achane. I think that's a great move right now.
I also think a nice down tier move that you can make is moving from Nico Collins to Chris Olave plus. There are a number of reasons that this is a pretty solid move, not just from like a market value perspective. I mean, by the end of the season, I don't think there's going to be much of a value difference between Chris Olave and Nico Collins, barring injury for either of those guys. You have Nico, who's going to be heading into the offseason at 27 years old, and Chris Olave is only 25 right now. And with both of these guys, I mean, yeah, you have a more positive outlook, a more positive situation for Nico Collins, for sure. And Nico Collins right now is on a tear. I mean, his upside the last couple of games, 14, 22, 24 points with 11, 15, and 10 targets. With Stroud coming back healthy, I mean, you're looking at Houston potentially going on a run, trying to save their season and get into a playoff spot or playoff position this season. And Nico's going to be a huge part of that. I mean, you're seeing his just explosiveness. He's getting some touchdowns here and there. Like, this is nothing against Nico Collins as a productive asset, as a talent, or anything like that. This is just the value gap, the value discrepancy between Nico and Olave right now is so significant that the technical production downgrade that you're getting is not as big as the value gap really is and is demonstrating right now. I mean, Nico right now is being valued as a mid-third round asset, and Nico Collins is like a late 4th, early 5th round asset right now, and he's about to get a massive extension with the New Orleans Saints. And oh, by the way, the Saints are going to be drafting a quarterback in the offseason as well. So once we get to the offseason, I mean, you're going to be looking at a situation that hasn't changed at all for Nico. A situation where Jaden Higgins actually right now is on the rise. Jaden Higgins is starting to get a significant amount of target volume there. And then you've got the situation in New Orleans where they're drafting a quarterback. They're going to be getting a franchise guy potentially in the running for a Fernando Mendoza or a Ty Simpson if they really like either one of those guys. And you pair one of those guys in their surgical skill set with Chris Olave, and it's going to be game over when it comes to the Dynasty community and how they view Chris Olave's value in the offseason. And that's kind of the idea here is if you're a reload or a rebuild and you have Nico Collins, there's really no reason for you to not make this move. It's technically a production downgrade if you're doing this like as a contender, slightly. But even then, it's like, I mean, if you can get a plus on top or a significant running back upgrade, let's say you do a wide receiver downgrade from Nico to Olave where it's not that much of a production downgrade and you're getting a massive upgrade from like a running back in, let's say, Travion Henderson, and you get up to, you know, a much higher production upside running back than like a Devon Achane or something, then like that would be something that's totally worth doing, right? You down tier here at wide receiver to up tier another position as a contender. That would be more the context in which you would make this move if you're really making a run for it this season.
All right, and then 2 other moves at the onesie positions here. Well, it's the Superflex, it's a 2Z, but Daniels for Dart plus. So this is Jaden Daniels, and honestly, like the one drawback here that I think you could, you know, point out, which I would totally agree with, is you might be selling low on Daniels. If you have people who aren't valuing Jaden Daniels, he's just a hold. But in terms of his market value, I feel like the deals I've seen him going for right now suggest that people really haven't dropped him down out of the first round at all. In fact, he's still in that mid-first round. Maybe he's not at the beginning of the first. But I like moving Jaden Daniels. In fact, I like moving Patrick Mahomes right now. I like moving even maybe like a, you know, Drake May. I know it's blasphemy to say that, but I'm just saying for Jackson Dart plus. And the thing about Daniels and Dart that when you compare them is specifically interesting is that Dart is actually doing what Daniels did his rookie year to actually a little bit of a higher extent. When he's been the starter, he's actually been scoring more points, and it's, you know, a decent sample size at least. It's not like we haven't seen anything from Jackson Dart. I mean, you've seen, 7 games where he's been the starter, and he has been fan-freaking-tastic. And so, look, with Dart, I get it. He is in concussion protocol right now, but Jaden Daniels is having the same type of injury issues right now. He's missed, you know, multiple stretches this season. Obviously, his elbow was sticking out of his arm almost, and you don't like that. But Dart has been 26, 27, 19, 23, 29, 17, and 19 points per game as a starter. I mean, that's like a difference-making level of production from Jackson Dart at the quarterback position, and he's going a pretty cheap price compared to all the other difference-making quarterbacks. If you have an actual difference-making quarterback in a Superflex league that's 22 years old, that has, you know, significant team investment, they should probably be going pretty high, which I agree with that. The problem is with Dart, we've kind of seen a double standard, and I think part of it is the situation, but also I think part of it is the fact that Jackson Dart wasn't drafted in the top 3, and I can tell you right now, the New York Giants don't care where he was drafted. They've seen enough from Jackson Dart this year, and they have enough excitement from Jackson Dart this year. He is their quarterback moving forward. He absolutely is. And so he has that insulation that you can kind of count on as well. But I just like moving off of Daniels for Dart, especially right now if you can, and Daniels hasn't lost value because you get a guy that's actually going to be producing when Dart comes back. As of today, he's still in the concussion protocol, but I expect him back soon. But even long-term, I think Jackson Dart, you're starting to see his value creep up into the second because people are realizing this is a guy that's got long-term investment, that's 22 years old, that's scoring at a high level, and has elite rushing upside right now in fantasy football. I mean, he has had a rushing touchdown in all but one of his starts so far. And I'm not saying that's going to continue, but I do think he's going to continue to run the ball 5 to 10 times a game and get 50 rushing yards. And when you extrapolate that over an entire season, I mean, that's pretty good. And so I like moving off some of those higher end QBs for Jackson Dart plus before I think eventually where he's going to be valued at the end of the season is right at the tail end of the first round in Dynasty startups. I think he's going to go right there at the turn where you see those rookie quarterbacks that have some questions situationally. And then honestly, like I think you can get more than that on top of Jackson Dart if you're trading a guy like Jaden Daniels for him. So I'm definitely open to making that move. And I want to look here real quick in terms of like the trade finder, see if anybody has actually made this trade yet, because I know you can move off of some of these guys for Jackson Dart plus. And so In the last couple of days, actually, you've seen a lot of this. Somebody got Chris Olave on top of Jackson Dart, which absolutely, I would do that. Somebody got a second on top of Dart. It's probably not as much as I would have hoped for. And so maybe you look at somebody like Drake May. I bet you're getting an absolute haul if you down tier from Drake May to Jackson Dart plus. Amarian Hampton and Jackson Dart for Drake May. I would take Hampton and Dart. There's not even close. So 26 first and Jackson Dart for Drake May, I think, is fairly close to me as well. I love Drake May, and Drake May is my quarterback one in Dynasty, but I'm still willing to just make this down tier simply because I think Dart's a little bit undervalued, and he's producing at a high level just as much as Drake May is right now. So long story short, it's just a market inefficiency for Dart here. And then another one I just want to mention, you can cry about it all you want, and I don't care. Because, again, there's really no excuse not to make this move if you can. But if you can trade Bowers is, in every startup we do, going a round or a round and a half higher than McBride still. Explain it to me like I'm 5 here.
Let's not even talk about talk about Brock Bowers again. Let's talk about Trey McBride. Have you seen what Trey McBride has been doing?
I've seen.
Have you seen what he's been doing for the last couple of years?
I've seen.
Have you seen the value discrepancy between Trey McBride and he who must not be named? Like it's big enough where you can get a pretty solid plus on top. Again, the half to a full round difference when you're talking about like premium high end assets in the first 2 rounds, that half round difference is a big difference where you can get a big premium on top, or say a big upgrade at another position by making that down tier from he who must not be named to Trey McBride. And there's, again, no production hit that you're taking whatsoever. In fact, you're getting a slight production upgrade this year. I know I'm not allowed to say it, but that is the reality. When you're looking at age, you've got a 3-year age gap between those two. At tight end, we don't care. I mean, these guys last forever. These premier assets last forever. I mean, look at George Kittle right now. At what is he, like 33 years old, 32, 33? Trey McBride at 26 years old. Like, we play Dynasty in 3-year outlooks. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. We don't care about that. When you're talking about situation, I mean, you have just as bad, if not a slightly better situation in Arizona for Trey McBride to produce at a insanely consistently high level than you do, honestly, in Vegas right now for he who must not be named to produce at a consistently elite level every single week this season. So, McBride he gets a production nod, and we're not even saying that you should rank Trey McBride over he who must not be named. We're just saying, like, there shouldn't be this much of a value gap between both of them when really they should be ranked in the same tier.
And I just want to point this out as well about this. I'm not seeing a ton of examples of this on the Trade Finder. I think this might be like a made-up fake value type thing. Like, maybe McBride actually is as valuable as Bowers at this point, and just it's a name thing, and nobody wants to admit it. So this is great. This is an easy one because I don't see a ton of trades where this is happening. So check your league mates. If there's a difference in value, down tier to McBride and get something on top. Anything. Get a second on top. Totally cool with it. If not, you tried, and people are actually smart in your league, because people really shouldn't be valuing these guys any differently. But the down tier, the up tier, the pivots, we're going to start with our up tiers next. So the type of moves that we are giving you, and they're the type of moves that you make on your Dynasty teams, depending on what type of team you have. And so if you come and join the annual Mother Flocker tier with code DOMAIN, actually Nathan and I can give you a team blueprint. Nathan and I do all of these personally, where we can take a look at your team, give you specific moves for your Dynasty team with other teams in your league, what you should do to help benefit your Dynasty team most, whether you're a rebuild, reload, or contending team. It's going to vary based on that outlook, and we're going to give you the most specific moves possible and what helps you ultimately build a long-term Dynasty team. Plus, you also get the bakery, which is live on the site now. You're going to get our 2025 rookie draft guide when it comes out soon. You're going to get all the tools on the site, and you're going to get our Discord. And so you come join, you get that free blueprint, you get infinite blueprint as well. So flockfantasy.com/domain. Use code DOMAIN when you create an account, and you'll unlock everything that we have when you sign up, including that free blueprint. So I've got the link in the pinned comment. The first up tier we're going to have for you is Emeka Ibuka for CeeDee Lamb. And this is this is a little bit of both here. Like, this is just me, like, when I'm looking at Emeka Ibuka, I absolutely realize that he is an elite prospect, an elite talent, etc., elite production profile this year. But what stands out to me about Emeka Ibuka's production profile, and what I think is going to be a trend long-term with him, is I do think he's going to be more boom or bust than a CeeDee Lamb type. For example, when you're looking at some of Emeka Ibuka's lower target games, or even some of his higher target games where he had lower fantasy points, a lot of the reason of that was because he was not catching a high percentage of those targets, and I think that's because of the type of player he is and the type of targets he's actually getting on the field. And so inherently, Emeka Ibuka is going to have a little bit of a lower floor than CeeDee Lamb. I think almost everybody would agree at this point that we would take CeeDee Lamb over Emeka Ibuka in Dynasty. Using Emeka Ibuka to get up to either a CeeDee Lamb, an Amon-Ra St. Brown, a JSN, a Puka Nacua, those are the types of moves that, like, if you have Emeka Egbuka as your wide receiver 2 on your team, I think you're unlocking a little bit more upside. This last week against Buffalo is a perfect example. In a game where they scored 32 points, where Mike Evans and Chris Godwin didn't play, he had 9 targets and only had 9 points. He only caught 5 of those for 40 yards and didn't have a touchdown. In the games where he has not scored a touchdown this year, it has been like this for Egbuka: 14, 4, 9, 6, and 9 points for him. I think simply the guys in the tier above Egbuka are going to be a little bit more high floor without a touchdown than Emeka Egbuka is. And so because of that, I do have him in the tier right below all those guys in my Dynasty rankings. But I think in terms of the playoffs, when you're talking about going and pursuing a championship, a good move is to take Emeka Egbuka plus a small piece and to up tier into that next tier of wide receivers, just to get yourself not only that elite ceiling that Egbuka does have and all those other guys have, because he has the ceiling of an S tier wide receiver, an A tier wide receiver, but his floor is that of a B tier wide receiver. And that's part of the reason why he can't rank him next to like a JSN or a Puka Nacua, because he does not have a high floor. And so in my opinion, a good move is taking Emeka Egbuka, getting a higher floor elite stud player. And again, that's going to be very limited in terms of who you're trading for there. The guys I would move Emeka Egbuka plus for in Dynasty Fantasy Football: Drake London, almost a pivot, but I would do it. Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, JSN, Puka Nacua. You could make the argument for Justin Jefferson too, if you're a rebuild reload especially. Those are the types of moves I'm trying to do with Emeka Egbuka. And again, you have to add a small piece on top to get it done, but I do think you unlock a little bit of a higher floor plus the ceiling that he offers you. And I love Emeka Egbuka. He's not a sell to me at all. But I'm just thinking from a roster construction standpoint, almost everybody who drafted him in the late first of their rookie drafts, meaning he's their wide receiver 2 or 3. And if you can take that wide receiver 2 or 3 position and upgrade it even slightly, a lot of times that's the key to unlocking a Dynasty Fantasy Football Championship team.
Yeah, and if you're a contender looking just for more production in the short run and in the long run, longer term insulation, I think Saquon Plus for James Cook makes a lot of sense right now. Saquon, he's a poster child for the Madden curse right now. People are talking about JT being on the Madden cover next year. There's nothing I want less than JT to be on the Madden cover next year. Yeah. But Saquon, his efficiency has gone down. The touchdowns haven't been there. And he just, again, he hasn't been as on the ground, just as efficient as he was last season. And that kind of sucks if you're a heavy investor in him this year as a top contender. But I do think it is worth paying the premium to go ahead and get James Cook. James Cook isn't a flawless running back prospect for consistent fantasy production. He's going to have some down games. It's not like he's the best talent that has the highest upside I've ever seen in my entire life. But he does have the same contract insulation that Saquon Barkley does long-term. And that contract insulation goes a longer way for James Cook because he's just turned 26 years old, and Saquon Barkley is going to be 29 at the end of the season. Like, there's almost a 3-year gap between these two guys. And that does matter a lot more when you're talking about the liquidity of these assets when you get to the offseason. If you're a contender, you want to make this move not only for the production upgrade, but the ability to move all of these players around once you get to the offseason to play the market. You can't really play the market with Saquon other than invest in him at a discount, like a severe discount in the offseason, because he's not going to be worth a lot in the offseason. James Cook will be. Or he'll be worth much, much, much more. And I think this gap will increase as we get closer to January. For rebuilds and reloads, I also think this is a really good move too. If you can't move Saquon Barkley for an insulated wide receiver in that same value range, I think a little plus, whether it's like a contending piece, or a depth piece to go get James Cook. Like, I think if that's possible for you, or if you own him, like, definitely hold him. But like, if you can do that even as a rebuild, it's going to be tough to do that. But again, if you can pull it off, I would definitely try to do that, for Cook at this point in time. Look, there's a significant notable step down between James Cook and that higher ends of tiered running backs where you've got like JT, Devon Achane, Omari, and Hampton. He's not really in that conversation. But he is, in my opinion, at this point in time, I do think he is a comfortable tier above Saquon Barkley in Dynasty from here on out, just because, again, we've seen this every single year, guys. You can get an extension for Derrick Henry, a 2-year extension for Derrick Henry in the offseason, and it doesn't matter because people just hate his age and they're scared of it. And it is somewhat understandable when they have, these elite level production years like Saquon did last season. And it's so hard to match or meet that again, that anything below that is just going to be a disappointment. And you're left with a bad taste in your mouth with a guy like Saquon.
But I'm looking at Jalen Waddle's value recently in Dynasty. And I know Jalen Waddle's a little bit older, and I know that, people don't like age. but I do think he's a little bit undervalued. Consensus like wide receiver 21 to 24 in most places when you're looking. And a guy who's right behind him is Jordan Addison, wide receiver 24 on Keep Trade Cut is Jordan Addison. On the Flock site, you've got Jordan Addison's wide receiver 27, so only 3 or 4 spots behind Jalen Waddle. And there's a big difference between Jalen Waddle and Jordan Addison, in my opinion. Now, from a points per game standpoint this year, there's only about a 1.5 or 2 point per game difference between these two players. But when I'm thinking long-term between Jordan Addison and between Jalen Waddle, the question that I have with Jordan Addison is the Vikings have a J.J. McCarthy-sized problem. Are they going to stick with McCarthy next year? I think the answer is yes. And how negatively will that impact Jordan Addison? You realize since McCarthy's been back 8, 6, and 10 points, just a completely limited ceiling for this guy. Whereas Waddle does still have 19, 14, 20-point upside, not only with Tua Tagovailoa, I don't know how to say his name. People always get super pissy about that. And it's like, his name's Tua. Or with a Fernando Mendoza or a Ty Simpson in that offense, depending on who they're able to draft in the 2026 draft. They might end up taking a quarterback. But I think Waddle, at 26 going on 27 years old, has 3 pretty solid years ahead of him being the wide receiver 1 in that Dolphins offense. And the difference between Jordan Addison and Jalen Waddle, in my opinion, is their ceiling that you can unlock with Jalen Waddle is much higher than what it is with Jordan Addison. Addison's a great wide receiver, but he's a 2. He's really, really good alongside Justin Jefferson. It is there is no better situation in the NFL than Jordan Addison behind Justin Jefferson. They fit together so well. And that's why Jordan Addison has been as productive as he has as a wide receiver 2 the last couple of years. But with Jalen Waddle, I mean, he is already the wide receiver 10 this year. He has more upside. And, frankly, I think the next 3 years, I think Waddle's going to be more productive than Jordan Addison. So I'm comfortable moving Jordan Addison plus for Jalen Waddle. And another quick one real quick. If I'm going to bet, I mean, when you're talking about, let's just compare and contrast here. Ricky Pearsall. How much has Ricky Pearsall done since he's been in the NFL? Because he was the wide receiver 82 last year, which, yes, I know he got shot. Wide receiver 82 last year and wide receiver 77 so far this year. Okay? Travis Hunter has done nothing in the NFL so far, but he's done just as much as Ricky Pearsall has. They both have showcased nothing, okay? Ricky Pearsall is on an offense where he's probably not the first option there from a weapon standpoint because it's CMC and Kittle. If Ayuk comes back, who knows what that's going to look like. Juwan Jennings kind of cuts into that. But Ricky Pearsall, when he plays, obviously you've seen in spurts. You saw at the beginning of this year, 14, 9, 19, and 8. Although we saw 2 double-digit games, approximately 2 of them from him this year, and 2 at the end of last season, and it was enough for us to crown him for some reason. And Travis Hunter, again, you saw a 24-point game, but he's done nothing. These guys have equivalently done 0 in the NFL. And so if I'm going to choose which one I'm going to bet on, being valued very close together, I mean, Travis Hunter's still a little bit above Ricky Pearsall. And I'm looking at them from a prospect level standpoint and a talent standpoint and even a situational standpoint.
When really we don't have much else to go off of.
Even age. I mean, if you want to make the age argument, Travis Hunter got 3 years on Ricky Pearsall. Why would I bet on Pearsall when I could bet on Hunter? I think there's a little bit of a fallacy with Ricky Pearsall in the sense that, number one, Ricky Pearsall's health issues and his inability to stay healthy, they date back a long time. Why do you think he wasn't productive in Florida?
Yeah, he wasn't. It wasn't just the shooting fluke at the beginning of last season. Like, he got injured later that season, missed time. He missed 6 weeks with a PCL sprain this year that he couldn't shake. And then you're right, Florida, he was banged up a lot in Florida.
Yeah, and again, like a lot of it, when he was on the field, a lot of it was like, oh, he has these big plays, big catches. He had 11 targets in week 3 against Arizona in week 3, but if I'm not mistaken, they didn't have Kittle that week, and they didn't, and so you didn't have Kittle that week, and you obviously don't have Ayuk, and I don't think they had Juwan Jennings that week as well, and so they didn't against Arizona. So again, like Ricky Pearsall's like one big game this year was he was the only guy there, and so this is to me is just a matter of I think Travis Hunter's more talented. I think Travis Hunter does have a clearer opportunity to be an alpha wide receiver in the NFL. We don't know what Brian Thomas is at this point either. I still think Brian Thomas is a good pick. I still think he's a good trade target. I still think he's a good wide receiver. But I think Travis Hunter can absolutely produce alongside him, especially if they eventually decide, which I think they're going to have to decide eventually. Nathan and I's predictions, they're eventually going to decide, hey, Travis Hunter, you're going to be a wide receiver at this point. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's going to happen. And I want Travis Hunter when that happens. And I don't want Ricky Pearsall when he has his next injury. And I know I'm speaking a little bit too simplistically here, but again, these guys have both proven nothing, and I think Travis Hunter is a much better talent, and so I'm going to bet on Travis Hunter before I bet on Ricky Pearsall. That's why I would pay Ricky Pearsall plus for Travis Hunter. And then one last quick Uptier real quick.
Yeah, I would move ETN plus for Javonte Williams, not just in the short term. I do think that even though you've had kind of a rough go at it for Javonte Williams the last couple of weeks, the volume is still there. He just hasn't gotten any touchdowns. And I think he's going to bounce back and be fine for the rest of the year for the most part. And Travis Etienne, it's not like he's any more reliable. He's had his stretches this season where it's been really, really rough. And now you have to worry about Bashal Tutin, who was starting to get a lot more work last week and potentially the week before that too. And I know Etienne kind of saved his day this past week with the 2 touchdowns, and he's still going to have some productive days. He is 27 years old compared to Javonte Williams, who is still only 25. So you got 2 years with Javonte over Travis Etienne, almost more like a year and a half. But here's the thing. When I look at the offseason, not only as a contender, if you make this move, do I think you're getting a production upgrade for the rest of the year, but again, when it comes to the liquidity of these assets, I think you've got a less risky outlook and a higher production upside outlook for Javonte Williams than you do for Travis Etienne, to a point where it's just worth paying the premium now when that premium is going to increase with the gap between Etienne and Javonte in the offseason. I think Javonte has earned himself a significant extension, whether if it's not with Dallas, I think it's as a number 1 option somewhere else. And I don't think Etienne has. I think Etienne has shown that in spurts, he can be very productive, and he's probably going to end up in kind of a shakier situation heading into next season. And I don't think it's going to be with Jacksonville. I think you're going to have a lot more question marks heading into 2026 with Etienne than you will with Javonte. So let's just play the market now, and let's play the value upside, which is higher with Javonte right now.
And then lastly, some pivots here, just some 1-for-1s. We're going to, with 1-for-1s, it's kind of, risky week. You end up being wrong about this pretty easily, but it's fine. My first pivot is CJ Stroud for anybody in that range, literally anybody. I don't understand this one, guys. Stroud is not a fantasy productive quarterback at all.
Not consistently.
Any wide receiver, running back, or quarterback in that range I would take. Also, you can make the same argument for JJ McCarthy, by the way. I'm just pivoting off of both of these 2 guys. We're giving these guys as pivots on our blueprints right now every time we see them. And so I would pivot off of CJ Stroud, pivot off of JJ McCarthy for pretty much anybody in that range.
Yeah. Henderson has pretty much regained the value that he had before the season started. He is right back up to like a mid 3rd round asset, early 3rd round asset. If you can move Travion Henderson for Omarion Hampton right now, I would absolutely do it. There's a lot of hype around Henderson, which I totally understand. Again, this is why we were pumping the brakes when he had a really disappointing start to the season. Hampton just straight up looks a lot better than Henderson. He's just better. He's more efficient on the ground. He's more consistently explosive. His receiving capability is absolutely there, just like it is with Henderson. And he has better vision. He's a more consistent runner of the football. In my opinion, a much better long-term situation than you have in New England. And again, New England looks phenomenal. I'm not saying New England is a bad situation to be in. I'm just saying if you were to give me one situation to be in over the other, I would take a Greg Roman offense with Omarion Hampton than I would a Mike Vrabel offense with Travion Henderson. Or a Josh McDaniel offense, with Travion Henderson. I do think that you just have less long-term question marks to answer with Hampton than you do with Henderson. I think the upside is higher with Hampton than it is with Henderson. And the fact that that's even a 1-for-1 possibility right now is something I would definitely at least, again, fact check and look into in your league. It might not apply to everyone's league, but even if it's a small premium, even if it's a couple thirds, I would definitely throw that in on top of Travion Henderson to go ahead and go just pivot to Omarion Hampton, because the only reason you're getting Hampton at that discount right now is because he had that rough ankle injury that he's going to be returning from soon. So that discount I don't think is going to be applied for very much longer. This is kind of a time is of the essence move.
And the last one here, Xavier Worthy for Devontae Adams. And you might say, this one might make you scratch your head, like Xavier Worthy, he's 22 years old. He runs a 4-2. He plays for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. He's the Lamborghini of on-paper prospects, and I get that. He's not productive. I mean, he was last year. He was the wide receiver 33 without Rashee Rice. With Rashee there, I think it severely caps the ceiling. But, this is mainly a Devontae Adams take. I could care less about Xavier Worthy. I think Devontae Adams at 32 years old is still undervalued, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's just productive, and I think he might be productive for two more years. And at that point, I'm willing to just take the production of my team and take Devontae Adams. So, a lot of people, it's not a sexy buy, Devontae Adams, but I like Devontae Adams, and every metric we have says that he's undervalued in Dynasty rankings. And so I like making that move, especially for contending teams right now. So, again, all these moves are going to be dependent on your Dynasty team, your Dynasty build, but each, build that you have, you can get a value in our opinion, if you make these moves, and you get some extra value on top of these guys. So do us a favor. If you enjoy the Dynasty content in season, drop a like and make sure you're subscribed if you play Dynasty as well. If you play Dynasty, you want to get involved in our community, we have the best Dynasty community literally in the world. You can come get a team blueprint from Nathan and I when you sign up, get Infinite Blueprint, get our Discord, get our whole community, get all of our Dynasty tools, get our bakery, everything. You get it all. So come join. We'd love to have you guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you here soon.